Gotta show off the fit. What's up, everyone? Hope you guys can hear me. So, this is video number 4, I believe, on the review side of the game. I got some co-hosts with me, my 2 little girlies. So, but spoilers. So again, all my reviews are gonna have spoilers, but not to the point where you don't want to watch the movie. But this movie, Him, has been getting a lot of flack, and I think the flack comes from life experience, because this movie felt like a self-reflection for me. Marlon Wayans, wow, that performance was golden. Actually, everyone's performance in it was golden. The storyline basically is you got a young boy who idolizes Marlon's character, Isaiah White, as I'm gonna just say it, Black Tom Brady, you know, with the 8 rings and the GOAT. And he ends up, his dad was a football fanatic, and there was a lot of loose ends about his father. They kept saying, you're not like your father. I'm like, how did they know who his father was? Was his father a football player? It was never established, but his father did the kick in the tripod. But his father did, you know, train him every day to be the best quarterback he can be, instilled in him hard work and to always put your family first. Now, remember keeping your family first. That's important throughout this whole movie. So they did a big, you know, jump. So we never ever got to watch him play football, and Marlon as well. We saw them throw a couple of passes to some receivers and like a practice drill, but football-wise, that's it. So it's just, what's the word I'm looking for? It is overly suggested that he's like the best player in college. He did this, but it did allude that he played 4 years. Now, usually somebody that good would probably leave college in 2 years, 3 years tops. But he stayed 4 years, which could have been a non-experienced writer about sports and didn't think about it. But that's my note. But they go, so right the day before the combine, or I want to say maybe a week before. Actually a week before the combine, he was practicing at a private field, and his coach was like, "Hey, when you finish, lock up." How you lock up a football field? I don't know. Maybe the gate. I don't know. But I think that reference was basically for basketball players. Again, I think a lot of these writers don't really understand sports, so they understand context, of course, but they don't understand the experience part of it. So I never heard anybody say, "Hey, lock up the football field." Maybe lock up the gate, but I digress. But so while he's doing this private practice by himself, throwing balls at the goalpost, a demon type creature, you could tell it's somebody in a costume, but came up and hit him in the head. And he had to get stitches, and it was pretty bad. But so he woke up in the hospital with staples in his head. The doctor was saying, "Hey, I don't think you can ever play football again. All it's gonna take is one hit, and that could be it for you." You know, now this is where it gets dicey, because I don't want to say the wrong thing, but his family, who have been banking on him making it so they can be rich, was like, "Oh, he's strong. He can still play. You'll be fine, baby. You'll be fine. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. But because of the injury, he can't do the combine. So because he couldn't do the combine, his stock just dropped. He went from being from the number one pick to maybe not even being picked. I.e., stop, Bella. I.e., Shedeur Sanders. That's what it reminded me of. The best college quarterback, but now, right before the draft, something has supposedly happened, and now you might not get picked. So, now he's wallowing, he's pissed at everybody, he's pushing his brother around, and, no, he's married, so did he get married in college? That was, I don't know. That was different too, but, so he's wallowing, he's mad, he's at some house party, and he's sulking. He goes sits into an empty jacuzzi, I guess, somewhere to relax. But he had a phone call, so it was his agent, and his agent was saying, hey, I got great news for you. Isaiah White, aka Marlon Wayans, wants you to come to his house so he can train you and introduce you to the owners to maybe take his spot after he retires. He gets excited. He makes the trip. It's in some secluded area, like the desert, hidden place. And just the whole trip to the house, that was weird. I mean, who has fans at the end of your driveway? That was a whole weird setup. So he gets to Marlon Wayans, Isaiah White's home. It looks like, it looks exactly like Star Labs in The Flash. Like, no real living room. Everything's like a hallway, corridors, brick, mortar everywhere. It looks weird. It doesn't look like a house. It looks like a sex dungeon castle type of thing. I mean, there's no cohesiveness in this whole entire house. There's no kitchen. We didn't see no bedroom. It was just rooms with stuff in it. And then a jacuzzi. And then it was just really weird. And he goes in there and he was like, oh, I'm a big fan. Thank you for doing this. And he was like, hey, I want to see what you're made of, and this and this and that. So he goes through all this rigmarole, tests, 2-a-days. They did some weird weigh-in, height, even though they should have known that already. But I guess they was doing it for a combine type atmosphere, and he went in there, was showing them some drills. This is when it gets dark. Marlon Wayans starts talking about, the history of football, and the Native Americans started quarterback because the big bad white man did this, and then they had to make a rule that forward passes. It was rambling on. But then it started to get to, hey, I want to stick syringes in you when you get sore because it gives you more strength, makes you more agile, more focused. And then he started asking these questions. Would you rather never get tired or never get injured? Would you rather be able to run fast or would you rather be able to be quick? Things like that. Almost like he's making him a steroid cocktail for everything he's asking for. And when, I'm blanking on his real name, but when the young player starts to be like, hey, this is getting weird, that's when Marlon starts to get darker. And then it becomes, well, I'm injecting you with my blood, but my blood was from the GOAT before me, and the GOAT before that, and then the GOAT before that, almost like some Super Saiyan serum, Captain America type of blood. And then he was saying, and this is where it got pretty personal for me, because as for acting, everybody knows I don't like to say I gave up my family, but I gave up everything that I know. I gave up a familiar and safe place in Texas to come out to Cali, go to school, learn everything I needed to learn, and still doing it. Doing any and acting, plays, TV shows, movies, anything that I can do. And like I said in the beginning, I wanted to pull my family into a new, echelon of life. And, entertainment does that. And I do have that gift. I have that, this is all I ever wanted to do. So just like him with football. So your family drives you. And he says that. He says, my family drives me. So when things get hard for me, even with acting, just like he said with football, when you're just down and out, you're in so much pain, and crying, and this, your family pops in your head, and that's what keeps you going. And Marlon's character was like, that's your motivation. So always keep your family in your heart, in your mind. When you get hit, your leg gets broke, whatever, and you need to finish that play to win the game, think of your family. So I related to that big time. And then Marlon kept, it started to get darker. Like, people was coming in there trying to kill him, and Marlon's wife was trying to seduce him with different women, and, it looked like the Baphomet, to be honest. That's pretty much what it was. And it looked like Marlon was supposed to pass the torch, but changed his mind. Almost like how Tom Brady did. I'm going to retire. No, you know what? I'm going to come back for one more. And that wasn't supposed to be the plan. So Marlon and him was like, hey, I'm not ready to give it up. So one of us is not leaving this room. And they duke it out. And he figured out, hey, this is not what I want. But he had to knock Marlon down to escape the room. And once he escaped the room, that's when everything starts to reveal. And it turns out that his dad died when he was young. 2 weeks after he told his dad, I don't want to play football anymore, I'm done. And then 2 weeks later, his dad passes away. Mysteriously, he's never really got... That should have been more of the focus on. That should have been more of his motivation. But, again, I digress. But then it turns out that his father actually sacrificed his son with the owner to put him in this position. So his dad gave up his life. They killed his dad for a sacrifice to get his son in this position. So they hit him in the head and all of that. So no other team could draft him was actually the plot. And, the only side thing was Marlon was supposed to pass the torch, and he didn't. And messed up everything. And now he knows, why he's in a position. And I'm not going to tell you what his decision was, but it was a surprising decision that he made. But, overall, out of, 5 drum sets being the best, I actually am going to give this one, I'm going to give this one a 3.75, almost a 4. I would say a 4 if the story was more linear, but it's definitely worth watching. Anybody who has deep desires to be better, in life and to push, this movie is definitely for you. And again, you want to go watch Hymns. All right? Peace.